Okay, so some important definitions, although we have already covered them, but to understand the next topic, we should have clear idea on them, like independent variable. So, what is independent variable? These are the variables or alternatives that are manipulated and whose effects are measured and compared. Okay. So independent variables are those variables which can be manipulated, and accordingly will have different effects, and we can compare and measure, like price levels. Then test units are the individuals or organizations or other entities whose response to the independent variable or treatment is being examined, like consumers, stores. Okay, so you got it, independent variable, and then test unit. And similarly, we have dependent variables, and these are the variables which measure the effect of independent variables on the test unit. So certain effects will be imparted by the independent variables on the test unit, right? So like suppose sales, profits, market shares. So these are totally dependent on what? Price levels, like, and this will be measured by which? Consumers and those particular stores. So these are the relations between independent variables, test units, and dependent variables. Just give me 1 minute. Test unit and dependent variable. Then we have extraneous variables. These are the variables other than the independent variables that affect the response of the test unit. As for example, store size, store location, some competitive effort. Okay, so what is exactly extraneous variables? Which will affect the means response of the test units. ठीक है, so independent variable को हमने manipulate किया तो कुछ effect आ रहा है, right, on some dependent variables, and this effects will be measured from what test units, and the variables which will affect the response of the test unit, like आपका the store size and then the location कहाँ है store का, ठीक है. So these things are known as extraneous variable. This should be a very clear idea on this independent variable, dependent variable, extraneous. They are not same, okay, and test units, of course. Then validity in experimentation, external validity and internal validity. First, come to the internal validity. नाम से पता लग रहा है कि this is of something internal, means this refers to whether the manipulation of the independent variables or treatments actually cause the observed effects on the dependent variables or not. Okay, so this internal variable means validity is depending on the manipulation of the independent variable, means because of the manipulation, whether some means change is being observed or not. On what? On dependent variable. So that is internal validity. Right, we want to check that particular change. Control of extraneous variables is a necessary condition for establishing the internal validity. Remember, you may note it down also, very important point. Control of extraneous variable. Just now we have discussed about the extraneous variable. Okay, example like store size, store location. Store जिस location में है उसके बेसिस पे आपका क्या हो सकता है, परफॉर्मेंस मीन्स कितना प्रॉफिट हो रहा है, कितना लॉस हो रहा है, that depends ना, depending on the sales. The sales also depend on the store location, the size of the store, whether all the items are there or not. So that is extraneous variable. So similarly, internal validity is also depending on this particular extraneous variables. Okay, so control of extraneous variables is a necessary condition for establishing the internal validity. Then external validity. This refers to whether the cause and effect relationships found in the experiment can be generalized or not. To what populations, settings, times, independent variables, dependent variables, can these results be projected or not? So this is external validity. Okay. So what in one sentence, how will you define this external validity? This is the changes that whether the cause and effect relationship is found in the experiment or not. Right. Now, as we are talking about this validity and then these different variables, so of course we need some measurement and scaling, right? So this is a part of your syllabus, that how you measure these things, these changes means these internal variable and the external variables, and then independent and dependent and extraneous variables, manipulation of them, what changes being brought. So we need to measure them, right? So that's why we need this measurement and scaling. Now let's come to the first one, measurement. Measurement means assigning numbers or other symbols to characteristics of objects according to certain pre-specified rules. I hope my voice is coming clearly. Yes?
Yes, sir, it's clear.
Okay. So what is measurement? This means assigning numbers or other symbols to characteristics of objects according to some pre-specified rules. One-to-one correspondence between the numbers and the characteristics being measured. The rules for assigning numbers should be standardized and applied uniformly. Rules must not change over objects or time. See, this part is common for every field, means either you are from social science or basic science or school of business. Okay, we all are depending on these things, right? Koi bhi research, whatever the research is, we totally depend on these two variables, right? Dependent variables and independent variables. Yeah, other variables are also there. We again classify them into internal, external, extraneous. But basically we have two, independent and dependent. अब जो ये हम measurement की बात कर रहे हैं, what is that actually? We try to measure the changes that is being brought by manipulating the independent variables on dependent variables. And obviously this is depending on the characteristics of those variables. So by measurement, we try to assign numbers or symbols to those characteristics with respect to some pre-specified rules. And in your specific field, you may call them as parameters. Okay, suppose these parameters you have seen, this is directly impacting on this. Suppose you are from chemical science, suppose you change the temperature according to the result will be varied. Suppose you are from social science, you increase the population, then population means I'm talking about the data, of course, then we will have different means output, right? So these things will be measured by assigning some or assigning particular numbers or symbols to those particular characteristics. But the rules for assigning these numbers should be standardized and applied uniformly. ऐसा नहीं है हम कुछ भी कुछ कर रहे हैं, according to our choice we are assigning this, but there should be some rules for this assignment. Then scale characteristics. Some characteristics are like there, like description. By description, we mean the unique levels or descriptors that are used to designate each value of the scales. All scales possess this description. ठीक है, description means you can consider like some levels. ये स्केल को यूज कर रहे हो, इसके particular description क्या है, किस लिए आप यूज कर रहे हो, what is the unique level. Then order. By order we mean the relative sizes or positions of the descriptors. Order is denoted by descriptors like greater than, less than, equal to. ठीक है, ये order है. Just simply याद रखो, order is nothing but we try to find out their relative characteristics, like whether it is greater than or less than or equal to. Okay. Then distance. The characteristics of distance means that absolute differences between the scale descriptors are known and may be expressed in units. These intervals we usually consider equal intervals. Then origin characteristics means that the scale has a unique or fixed beginning or true zero point. Okay. Now, scaling involves creating a continuum upon which measured objects are located. Now, ये example, this will be different. Now, what you will do, I hope you all are listening. You try to find some scales with respect to your specific field of research. Got it? Now look at these examples. Numbers assigned to the runners, 7, 8, 3, then ordinal, rank orders of winners. Suppose this got the third place, this got the second place, this got the first place. Okay. Interval, performance rating on a scale, like what value he got. This is 8.2, first one got 9.6, second got 9.1. Then ratio, time to finish, like he took 15.2 seconds, first one took 13.4 seconds, second one took 14.1 seconds. तो ये जो एग्जांपल है इस पर्टिकुलर केस के लिए है. आप लोग अपने फील्ड से, from your field, like you are doing research in the chemical science, suppose he is doing research in the some social science, you find out such scales from your field. I hope clear. ये एग्जांपल तो सबको क्लियर है ना. नॉमिनल मतलब क्या बोल रहा है, हर किसी का एक एक नंबर रहता है, ठीक है, जस्ट टू आइडेंटिफाई इट. देन ऑर्डिनल मतलब क्या प्लेस उसने लिया है, उस पार्टिकुलर एक्सपेरिमेंट में उसका कितना इंपॉर्टेंस रहा, उसके बेसिस पे हमने एक रैंक दिया है. देन इंटरवल मींस, जैसे यहाँ पे तो हमने क्या बोला है, व्हाट इंटरवल वी हैव गिवन based on the performance. Okay, like from 0 to 10 I am assigning the third one as 8.2, second one is 9.1, and then first one is 9.6. Then ratio means what times it consumes. Okay, so I hope that these four of them are clear. So these are the scale, some scales for measurement. Now, the numbers serve only as labels or tags for identifying and classifying objects. Just now I have told you that they are just nothing but some identifier. When used for identification, there is a strict one-to-one correspondence between the numbers and the objects. ठीक है, इस एग्जाम्पल से आपको दिखाई दे रहा है, from this example it is very clear that this 7 is denoting this particular object. In this case, he is a runner, of course. Then these numbers are very important, because if you change the number, suppose here if you place 8, then all the values regarding it will be some false values. The numbers do not reflect the amount of the characteristics possessed by the objects. Of course, it is clear from that example. The only permissible operation on the number in a nominal scale is just counting. Only a limited number of statistics, all of which are based on frequency count, are permissible, like percentage and point. Okay. This will clear you the idea about this nominal scale, ordinal scale, interval scale, and ratio scale. Okay. Nominal scale, as I told you, they're nothing but some identifiers. Ordinal scale, some preference rankings. Then interval scale, ordinal scale, you understand, no? Some values I am giving, like 7, 2, 8, 3, 1 for them. Some values like 79, 25, what he got exactly. Then interval scale means some interval will be there from which that person is, or that particular object is getting some score, like from 1 to 7, he is getting 5. From 11 to 17, he is getting 15. Okay, this is known as interval scale. Then ratio scale. Got it? So suppose I have considered last 3 months amount, what amount he has spent. So that particular ratio I am calculating. So that is the ratio scale. Now, network is open. Just a minute. Huh? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you got today's assignment. What you need to do? Find out some scale with respect to your field. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So we pause here. We'll discuss about some examples with respect to this, and some more examples with respect to these different skills in the next class. Then let's take the attendance.